Hey everyone, my name is Matt. In this video, we're going to integrate analog synths and outboard gear into our Ableton live session to achieve a warmer sound. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Now let's get into it. My friend Sam at Sunk Productions gave me a beat he's been working on in Ableton, and he really wants to kind of fatten it up and make it sound a bit more analog and warm. I thought this would be a great opportunity to show you how I take MIDI notes, send it to a synth, and take recorded audio and send it to a bunch of pedals to kind of add a new flavor to the track. So before we get into it, let's hear the track. So we're going to start with the bass line and trying out some sounds on the Sub Phatty, and then we're going to think about what we want to send out to our guitar pedals. I really love this synth. It's super simple and easy to play, and it just sounds really, really good, and I think it's going to be a great fit for this kind of track. To hook it up to our sound card, I'm using a UAD Apollo, which is an amazing sound card as well. Because there's no MIDI interface built in, I had to think about how I want to integrate it. The good thing about the Sub Phatty is that it already has USB and MIDI input, so I can choose either or. In my situation, I thought it'd be easier just to use a USB connection, but if you don't have a USB on your synth, you got to get one of these MIDI boxes like I have here, which also connects to your computer with USB, but it just takes a MIDI in and a MIDI out from your synth, and then you can hook it up to Ableton. Let's listen just to the bass line. So now I'm getting an idea of kind of what the direction he had in mind and what I actually have in mind now, and it's gonna be kind of fun to give my own take on it. So now we're gonna begin with working on the bass line. So in order to start sending it out to the Sub Phatty, I gotta look at the MIDI channel that Sam sent me here, and I see two things. I see MIDI from and MIDI to. MIDI from we don't got to worry about since it's coming right here from the MIDI track. If you click on this, you'll see all his MIDI notes. When I go back to here, the thing I care about is the MIDI to. Now, if you're using a synth that doesn't have USB, you're going to click here and choose one of the MIDI channels of your MIDI device. But since our synth, the Sub Phatty, has a USB connection, all I have to do is click on the Sub Phatty. There's something I love about using USB is that I don't have to worry about what channel I'm on. It says it right here, Moog Sub Phatty. And now let's just double check that we're going to be getting the sound. So I'm going to just solo the MIDI notes and press play and see what it sounds like. Okay, so I just lowered the filter there because that was a kind of a piercing sound, but at least we're getting notes now to the Sub Phatty. So one more time, let's listen to the bass line Sam gave us so we can have an idea of what we're going to design on the Sub Phatty. Okay, so it's way more bassy than the sound that we had initially, which again, we didn't design, but if you listen to what we have here, clearly not the right sound for the track. So let's work on that. There's two ways of doing it. You can just do it solo, like we have here, and try to get to a place we like, or we could do it all together with the track playing in the background. I'm going to kind of do a bit of both. I'm going to start off with just a sound so I can bring it to a zone I like, and then we're going to fine tune it while the whole track is playing. So let's check this out. So I really want to make it a bit more bassier, so I'm going to bring the cutoff down. And I also know that the synth is set to a higher octave and I want it to be more in a lower range, so I'm going to bring that down. So now it sounds more subby, it sounds cool, but I kind of want it to be a bit more deeper. Two ways of doing this. I could bring down the MIDI notes here and transpose the whole thing to a lower range, or if your synth has a sub-oscillator like this one does, I can just crank this up and add a little bit of sub-os. So now you can hear it's a bit more fatter and a bit more deeper. It's not quite there, but at least I'm happy to start with this. So let's reference it now with the whole track. I'm going to mute the original bass line and just listen to what we have here. Okay, it's getting there. I make it a bit louder. I'm going to adjust some of this, the amplifier, to make it kind of drag a bit like the original. Okay, I think that's an interesting take. So now to record the Sub Phatty, we have the MIDI notes from here, but now I want to record the audio that's going to our sound card. So I'm going to create a new audio track, and I'm going to name it something that I won't forget what it is. gonna call it Moog. Now I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna arm it. So we know that the sub phatty is going into channel 2 of my sound card. And I can do a quick test by hitting a key. I see it's coming up here, but not coming up here. All I need to do is arm it. Now we're getting it. I'm gonna choose monitor auto, which is a great default setting for this kind of stuff. We're getting a tone. So now let's just record one take and see how it sounds. I'm gonna let it go for up to 16 bars, so we have everything. Then I'll stop it. Perfect. I'm gonna go to a triangle waveform. Triangle waveforms are more soft and more close to the original sound, so it gives a bit more of a sub-oscillator vibe. So let's check this out. It already sounds a lot more smoother and round, so now we're gonna work with this one. Okay, well, it's funny enough, I actually originally wanted to do a round or smooth sound, but now I kind of found this squelchy, weird one that I kind of like as well. So I'm gonna record this take and then do another one of the more round one. So we'll go back to here. All we need to do is record it right here and we'll get it. Yeah, it's super cool and squelchy. Okay, that was really, really awesome. See, that's the fun thing about doing this stuff. You get these kind of happy accidents that you don't really know where you're going. And you just get the touch of synth in front of you or listening to the track. It kind of creates this whole new thing. I mean, I don't know if Sam intended it to be squelchy like that, but he might like it. So now I'm gonna do one more where it's just gonna be the subbier one. So let's try this out. So I got rid of the envelopes on the filter that was giving us that squelch before, and I brought the resonance down. Now I'm getting this smooth kind of round tone. Let's record that one too. Okay, so now I have 3 different recordings, 3 different sounds. Let's take a listen to each of them and see what we like. So let's A/B compare them. There's 2 ways of doing this. I can drag it into here on this track called Moog, or I can just go back to this view and cycle through them. I'm gonna go for the cycling through part because it's just easier. And then when I like it, I'll bring it into here. So I'm gonna mute the MIDI note. So now I press play. All we hear is this, not that. So let's go back and listen to the first one, which I already forgot. Let's check it out. So this is the one that's kind of in between being round. This is more like, still a bit punchy, but kind of round. So far, it's a good runner-up. Let's check this one out. I really like this one. I think this one's really interesting, and I'm happy we kind of went this direction by accident by just touching some knobs, which is one of the best things about doing this kind of stuff when you get outside of the box, is that you're hands-on, touching things, you make a mistake, and all of a sudden you find something kind of cool. Now let's listen to the last one, which is the more round, fat one. Okay, that one's pretty good too. So off the bat, I'm gonna get rid of the first one because I'm not a fan of it. I'm gonna keep these 2. I'm gonna try something where I'm actually gonna layer these 2 and see what happens. It might be cool to have the sub bass of the last one overlaid with the squelchiness of the second one. So let me just duplicate this track. So now I have them both. I'm gonna get rid of this. You just duplicate the track, split them up. So now I'm gonna take the squelchy one, I'm gonna bring it into the other session. I'm gonna line it up with the original MIDI notes so it's in the right place. I'm gonna take the extra bar that we recorded, get rid of it. Okay, that's super cool, it's in there. Now let's put the other one in and layer it and see if we get something interesting, or it might sound completely bad. I don't wanna send Sam something horrible, so hopefully this is gonna work out really nice. Yeah, it's super, super, super cool. Wow. Yeah, so that turned out really, really cool. We got this Moog track over here doing a subby kind of fat bass line, and then we have this one here kind of doing this nasal squelchy one that's kind of giving it a character that I don't think he originally thought of, and I myself didn't think of until we started playing around with the synth. So I'm pretty happy how that turned out. We took the MIDI notes that Sam sent me, and I created a new sound on the Sub Phatty that I think is a bit different, but adds a little bit of a nice analog warm grit to the track. So I really like the sound of the flutes that Sam sent me. I kind of wish it was a bit more dynamic and there was some delay and stuff. I could add that in Ableton, but I thought it'd be more interesting to have a hands-on approach where I can actually manipulate the flute sound. Now, as you can hear, Sam already added some effects. There's some delay, a bit of reverb. It sounds pretty cool, but I really feel like we could kind of take it out of the box, put it through some pedals, and get something a bit more dynamic and interesting. So for the outboard gear, I picked some of my favorite pedals. I have the Strymon Ola, which is an amazing vibrato and chorus. I have the ZVex Box of Rock, which is a distortion and boost pedal. I have the MXR Carbon Copy analog delay, which is incredible. And I have the Electronics T2 Reverb. The way I have it organized, because I don't want to have too many inputs and outputs, and I kind of want all these effects to kind of blend into each other, I have them all chained. So I'm starting with the chorus from the Strymon Ola, going into the ZVex distortion pedal, into the MXR Carbon Copy, into the Electronics T2 Reverb. In order for us to now take the flute out, I got to isolate it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to solo the flute, and we're just going to listen to the flute. Okay. So now we have it set up to the master. What we're going to be doing is, instead of having it to the master, I'm going to send it to an external output. And I'm going to choose 3, because that's where I'm plugging it into. Now when I play it, it's going to be starting to go through this stuff. So we're going to hear it through the master of Ableton, but it's really going through all this first. So if we press play, okay, so now we're hearing it. So what I'm going to be doing is, I need to send a return now to actually record what we're doing, similar to what we did with the Moog. So I'm going to make a new audio track, and I'm going to call it Flute Pedals. So now I'm going to choose the external input where it's coming in, which is 1. Now I'm going to press play and see if I get a signal when I arm it. Perfect, I'm getting it here. Excellent. So just quickly while it's going on, we're going to kind of do the same process what we did with the Moog. We're going to just start playing with it without the background tracks to get a sense of what we can do. This is a nice chorus, gives it a nice kind of washy, airy sound. Let's put a little bit of delay. That's super nice. A little bit of reverb. And what's really cool is that as I record a take, I can kind of manipulate the sound a bit with my hands to kind of make it a bit more automated, but naturally by myself. Just put a little bit of distortion and see what it sounds like, not too much. I mean, I think that sounds super cool. Now let's hear it in context. And there's also one thing you gotta be careful about when using especially distortion pedals in this kind of setup, is that the sound level coming out of the audio card might be a bit too low or too hot for the pedal. So you gotta make sure that you always start with a light volume and slowly introduce it so you don't get any clipping. So now let's hear the sound we have. Super cool. Now let's hear it in context with the whole song. And in this case, we don't have to mute the flute because we're actually taking the flute sample and setting it all to this, unlike what we did with the Moog. That sounds cool. That's a little bit more dry to make it kind of stand out a bit. So now if I play the regen on the delay pedal, I can make it swell. Just little things like that, we can make the flute sample sound a bit more alive. So let's record a quick take of that, because I kind of like what we were doing. And it's going to be the same process as we did with the Moog. We have our flute pedals channel. All we got to do is hit record, and then we start tweaking some knobs. So I'm pretty happy how this turned out. I think the Moog bass line I made is pretty cool, adds a nice little flavor, a little analog punch to the track that maybe was missing there before. I think Sam's gonna be pretty happy. And I'm really, really happy how the flute turned out. I thought adding it through all these effect pedals and me actually playing it live added a nice dynamic to the track that's gonna make it really pop. Now, what's really cool is that you can do this with whatever you have. You can have any kind of guitar pedal, you can have any kind of synth. As long as you have MIDI and a way to send it out from Ableton into the pedals or into the synth, you can add this kind of stuff at home. And I'm actually very curious to see what people use. There's a million guitar pedals and there's so many synthesizers. So put whatever you use in the comments because I'm gonna read them. And if you like what we're doing, like and subscribe.